was thinking, I just got back from the ECETI ranch. I've been out there almost 2 weeks. Had something interesting happening that consists of what is it really like when we encounter a shapeshifter. So I think that the circumstances around that, we'll try to break it down real quick and discuss it. And it's just interesting. It's something different that I didn't count on for. So we'll go from there. Salutations. I just got back from the ECETI ranch. I wanted to go over something that encounter I had out there. All right, it was very subtle, but nonetheless, it's worth discussing. All right, this time I stayed in the same cabin that I stayed last time. That led to a video I did called the Sasquatch ECETI Ranch experience that I had with a being that I called Elder. All right, this time what happened was slightly different. Probably the first or second night of the conference, I met a gentleman by the name of Tom Powell, and it spells like T-H-O-M, like the old actor did. He was talking to me in the dinner line, and he starts saying, you know, I'm really more of a Sasquatch guy, and yada yada yada. We got to talking about that. It turns out he's a big-time Sasquatch researcher, all right? And he knows all those people like M.K. Davis, the Bigfoot hunters and all of them. He's plugged into all that, all right? And I believe he lives down there in Oregon. Anyway, he started telling me things. It's rarely that, honestly, my jaw drops a little bit. He started telling me some facts, research facts and witness accounts that really blew me away, all right? It dropped my jaw a little bit, and things I had not heard about Sasquatch prior to this, all right? One would be that he says that something that they don't talk about a lot because it's not scientifically proven is that the Sasquatch live in trees. And when he said that, I said, do you mean as in they're arboreal? Or he says, no. I said, or that they actually build huts inside of trunks? And he says, no. That they actually take their molecular structure and symbiotically combine it with a tree and become one with it. And that there are only certain species that will do this with it. And when he said that, Spirit starts giving me information. I'm seeing the redwood forest in California, all right? And also he says that the young ones don't have this ability yet in order to combine with trees yet, to symbiotically meld with them yet. They don't have that ability yet, and that's why they need a habitation of sorts to be protected and actually to learn that trait. All right, and this really kind of was a trip when he told me this. It resonated very deeply, all right? So anyway, that's just one thing he said about that. Something else that he threw in was he showed me, I told him what happened last year at this cabin. And he says, you know, he dealt with a lot of different tribes and also different shamans as well. There's a gentleman with him named Bob that was clairvoyant and telepathic. I could tell there's a lot coming off of him. So he actually dealt with this as well. Tom gives me this leaf. He takes a leaf and makes a face out of it, okay, that you just saw in the thing. And he says this was showed to me by several tribes. This is a subtle way that they communicate with Sasquatch. And that actually, it's the subtle thing. Sasquatch is so keen at observing every detail of its environment. That's what it does, and sometimes they'll mess with things and see if you have enough heightened awareness to pick it up. So I took this leaf and I put it on the patio of this cabin I was staying in. And it sat there for a while, okay, it didn't blow away for some reason, and after a couple of days it got kind of old and crusted, so I crumpled it and let it blow away, all right? But nothing actually happened. Then when the conference is over, there is a red rock on my doorstep, a lava rock. And this immediately throws up a red flag. I think, okay, these dudes out here are messing with me. They're trying to get me. Nobody's gonna get me. So I interrogated a guy named John Bertoli that does light language, another dude, Albert LaGrange, who I saw that mountain with last year, and also James Gillian, because he's got a good sense of humor, and he might have been trying to get me. So I got all these guys pretty much together, at least in the same vicinity, and interrogated them about which one of them put that rock there and was messing with me because of what happened last year. Everybody knows about that. Okay, and pretty much I come to a situation that it wasn't these guys, all right? I go back down there after that, back to the cabin, and I find these odd rock structures around the cabin. and they're so subtle, and there's some of them are too, I've tried to take pictures of them, but it doesn't do it justice because it's so minuscule. Two river rocks together, and other rocks that were stuck in the ground and flipped up, and a pine cone stuck to another one that seemed to have a leaf wrapped around it. All right, that was very odd. That very much caught my attention because it was something different about the detail out there. All right, and something that I know nobody that was left after the conference did. So I take 2 more leaves and put faces in them and put them in between these structures that I found. All right, and they sat there for about 2 days and nothing happened. On about the 3rd day, I find a quail feather in the back of the cabin, in a spot that's kind of looking back in the back 40. Where it was positioned is just odd. I should have taken a picture of it, but I started tripping out. This quail feather had white spots all around it. It was very little though, but the way it was sitting there, I never saw any birds back there. This was very, very odd, and it seemed like some type of a communication. All right. Not long after discovering this feather, I start hearing kind of melody whistling sound, and I keep hearing it, and I look up in the trees. The evergreens are pretty tall there, and I see a squirrel, a baby squirrel, and this baby squirrel starts coming down the tree and comes to a branch that's standing maybe 5 feet away from my head, and it's just listening. It's just doing this whistling kind of mellow type of melody, and it's so odd I can't even reproduce the sound to you. All right, that it's looking at me like that. It goes back up the tree, and when it starts moving around, this baby squirrel is moving so fast that I optically can't track it almost. So that's another very odd thing. It comes down a little bit more. I went and got some cashews and tried to get it to come down closer, but it took off. Eventually I wound up just eating the cashews, and then it comes down again, making this sound. Now I do know squirrels. Where I grew up, there were squirrels all over the place. They try to feed them sometimes. I know the sounds they make. This was not one of them, all right? And neither have I ever seen a squirrel move that fast. After I ate the cashews, it comes back down on that same branch, looks at me like that, and then takes off. And when it takes off, it makes the sound again and takes off down towards the back 40 behind this cabin, where there's Sasquatch activity, all right? I sat there and wound up being just stunned when this thing took off and what just had happened. All right, I was left thinking immediately, did I just encounter some type of a shapeshifter? All right, so that's kind of what I'm left feeling like. And it definitely wasn't this squirrel that could have, in that shape, turned those rocks over or left that feather there, but yet it was connected to this whole situation. And I've heard about Sasquatch having the ability to shapeshift before. I don't think we know what we're dealing with. All right, this squirrel, this energy felt feminine also, not like the elder, the one I dealt with before. All right, so when dealing with the possibility that maybe there are beings that can actually symbiotically join with a tree also, and that the fact that a lot of the Bigfoot sightings started after they started logging the redwood forest, I do believe. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. That needs to be investigated more, or we need to find out more what we're dealing with. So that's the situation that led me to believe that I encountered a shapeshifter, all right? And that the Sasquatch, I've heard several people saying they've seen them transform and shapeshift before. But it's one thing to hear about this, to know about the science of it. It's another thing to see the movies and see them shapeshift and all that. But what is it like when one of these beings really jumps in our field of awareness? That's where I'm coming from. Yeah. Quick wrap up, all right? First of all, Bigfoot and the details that are not scientifically proven. All right, Tom Powell's book is pretty good. He's starting to delve into the UFO connection with the Sasquatch. All right, something else I want to comment on real quick is that we all heard Sasquatch sounds out there on that ranch at night. 3 times I heard it, and to be honest with you, they're rather disconcerting. About 5 people were out there listening one time and brought people out of their cabins. So that's just something else to be aware of there, all right? Thank you very much. Please subscribe. I've been away for a while, so I start trying to answering more people on this channel. I notice people actually commenting now. It's a lot of people, so I'm going to try to start answering a little more and keep in touch with everyone who actually cares about this. So God bless. Talk to you soon.